Hi guys, this is Allison from Lager Counseling Services. I'm grateful to be here today. Pretty much what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing the Instagram videos, but they're such short clips, they only last for a minute. So I'm going to try and extend them on YouTube and try to make some podcasts so you guys will have the rest of the information. I'm finding it pretty hard to get my point across in such a short amount of time. So bottom line is that today what I was going to talk about is the idea of the blueprints that are inside us that have originated from the time we are born and probably before, and how they continue to automate and run our entire life. So what ends up happening is that people keep finding themselves in these patterns over and over and over and over again, over and over and over again, and they just don't stop. And the patterns can look something like, oh my gosh, look, I'm in debt again. Or, oh my gosh, look, I landed in the wrong relationship. Or every time I feel a little better physically, something happens and I don't feel well again. Or I'll lose a certain amount of weight, and then before you know it, I gain all the weight back. And people find that there's these repetitions in their lives that do not stop if we don't do something to stop them. Because really what's happening is that inside of us, neurologically, we have a whole network, a whole system of programming that's happening inside of us that's running the entire show. So when we gather new information or something that's going to be supportive of us changing our lives, or let's say getting out of debt, losing weight, handling things better, not having an emotional breakdown at the same thing every single time it happens, what ends up happening is when some new information or something that's valuable comes to us in order to make that change, neurologically, we reject that. Because what's happening is that in our unconscious mind, which is our entire body, because our body's a record of memory. And within our body, within our memory and our mind, our unconscious mind, there are belief systems. And the belief is fact. So if you have believed your whole life, if you were taught subliminally, outwardly, directly, in obvious ways and not so obvious ways, if you were taught that you weren't worth much, or that you could only achieve this amount, or you could only have this amount of money, but having more money was bad and it was selfish and it was greedy, or being beautiful meant that you were too sexualized and that you had to keep weight around your body in order to be safe. There's all these kinds of belief systems that develop in people for different reasons throughout their life. And what ends up happening is that those belief systems, those ideas become fact. Even if they're not true, they become fact. And then your life, your behavior, your results, all are run by that belief system. So what we need to do is we need to, number one, we need to know the truth. So as far as I can see, one of the number one success tools is awareness and living in the truth. It's the number one step to any kind of personal development, any kind of personal change, any restoration in our life has to begin with being aware of what's true. Actually taking a good look, a hard look at our reality in our life. Where am I exactly financially? What has been my timeline financially? What has been my timeline socially? What has been my results across the board of my life, socially, emotionally, physically, mentally, as far as my career, as far as my academics, as far as the way that I treat other people, how I manage my emotions. If you take a good look at your entire timeline and you look at your life, you're going to see bam, 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 repetition over and over again, because our life is a series of habits. It's a series of patterns, and we will only get or grow to the height that we are able to grow internally. So as far as I can grow inside of myself is as far as I can grow outside of myself. So what we want to do is we want to first tell ourselves the truth. Nothing, absolutely nothing ever changes ever in our life, nothing changes until it becomes what it is. If we don't identify and say and look at and say, hey, you know what? This is the truth. Every single time I look at my bank account, it's in the red. And it's been happening like that since I'm 18 years old. Or every time I get into a relationship, the same exact thing happens. The guy cheats on me. The woman is lies to me. Whatever it is. Or every time I get a certain amount into my bank account and I feel like I'm finally getting ahead, bam, I get hit with this huge bill and I fall behind again. I have never been able to get ahead. You want to listen to your language. You want to listen to the narrative inside of your brain, inside of your head, and ask yourself, what is my words? What are my words that I am saying that I don't even hear anymore? Like, oh, I can't ever win, or, I can't get ahead, or, that's just not me. Or, yeah, you know what? I have a tendency to just be with people like that. Or, yeah, you know what? It's just hard to live, in this rat race. You want to hear what all of those perceptions are, because every single one of those damn things that I just said are a bunch of bullshit. I'm just being honest with you. We got to be real. You know what? Whatever we tell ourselves, whatever we believe in our heart, whatever we really, really believe, that will come to fruition in our lives. So we want to know, what are we manifesting? Look around your life. So we want to look at our lives socially, emotionally, physically, relationally. What are your relationships with your significant others, with your family? Do you see patterns in your career? Do you see yourself only get to a certain height and then something pulls you back? Do you have a certain amount? Ask yourself the question, how much money am I willing to make? Because a lot of people don't even think of that. They're like, oh, I want to make millions of dollars, but they don't really realize, how much are you willing to make? How good of a relationship are you willing to have? How intimate are you willing to be? How warm and affectionate and hands-on and attentive are you willing to be without feeling frightened, without pulling back, without finding some little excuse not to be available? We want to know what our patterns are. Once we see our patterns, once we see the outcomes, the results in our life, what's really happening, look at your bank account, look at your relational history, look at your relationships. They will tell you everything about the results in your life. Look at where you're living. Most people are living where they don't want to live, with somebody they don't want to live with, doing what they don't want to do, and continuing to do it the rest of their lives until they die. So we don't want that anymore, correct? We want we want change, we want life. Why is there so many self-help books? Why is there so much stuff on personal development? The truth is that the number one thing that has to happen is that we have to tell ourselves the truth. That spiritual principle, and it's a law, is that the truth will set you free. So we have to first be aware of what is going on. So I ask people to take out your blueprint, take out your map, take out the program that you've been using your entire life, because people are constantly following a map that's taking them to the same damn place they went last year. It just comes in some other different package that disguises it. And what ends up happening is they're like, oh my God, I don't know how I landed here again. This always happens to me. Oh my gosh, I must be a victim. Nobody's a freaking victim, okay? Unless you really have been victimized. You're not a victim. So now let's look at this. So we look at our blueprint, right? And we say, okay, this is where I actually am. So now every decision I've made up until this time has supported these outcomes. So now what we want to do is we want to say, okay, the only way to change my outcomes is to change my inner blueprint. My inner blueprint is not going to change easily, because the inner blueprint is our unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind can only accept what's in there. Everything in there, if you're unconscious, if your blueprint tells you that you're ugly and you're beautiful, believe me, no matter what people tell you, no matter how beautiful people tell you you are, you will not believe them. Because there's this part in our brain, which you've probably heard all over, social media, people are talking about it, but it's a reticular activating system. And that particular part of our brain it's a little filter, actually. It's kind of a cute idea. And what it does is that little filter blocks out, or it keeps us from accepting information, accepting new data. It filters out data in our mind that comes at us. It filters it out if it doesn't support the data that's already in there. So if it doesn't support the data that's in our blueprint already. I gotta close the door because my kids are making too much noise. Hold on, I'm here. Don't go away, don't go away. This is the real deal. So basically, what we need to do is, so our little reticular activating system, what it's doing is it's saying, okay, this new information doesn't match the information that's in there right now. So if the new information says, hey, you know what, you can make as much money as you put your mind to and you put your work ethic toward and you're intentional about. And then your inner blueprint might say, no, you know what, having too much money is greedy. Or, my family could only reach to this level, so therefore I really couldn't do that. See, the thing is, you may not even hear that in words. It may just be part of your being. So what we want to do is we want to be able to be very aware, be awake and look at and hear and understand what is leading you, what is automating you, what is creating in you the things that are stopping you from living the life that you're meant to live. So what we want to do is, first things here, you're going to write out exactly what your results are in your life today, exactly where you are in each area of your life. Then after that, you're going to notice that as you're just living your life, that as something comes your way, you immediately reject it. And if you reject it, are you rejecting it because that's just what you do? Or are you willing to make a decision to say, you know what, I'm going to pivot. I'm not going to think the same way that blueprint has taught me to think and has created an outcome for me that I don't like. Basically, most people are following a map that is laid out to take them to Chicago, and they want to go to California. And every single time they land in Chicago, they're like, what the F? How did I land in Chicago again? I have a map to California. Well, the reason that you're landing in Chicago again is because you really don't have a map to California. You just want a map to California. You just want to be in California, but you're following the map that keeps taking you to Chicago, or to being in debt, or being with a really lousy boyfriend or girlfriend, or the same map that tells you should scream at somebody because you just feel upset. Well, what I want to tell you is that the first thing is take out your damn map, look at what it's telling you to do. And then it's a conscious decision, because a decision is a power move. When we make a decision, our neurons, everything in our brain just starts firing. And it finds a way, when a decision is made with intention, it finds a way somehow to bring the answers to the person. So what I say to you is, we're going to start with this idea. And I'm going to continue to teach and show you little simple ways to make this happen. So I just want to bless you. I want to tell you that you have an opportunity right now. If you tell yourself the truth, you look at your real results in your life, actually what's really happening, where you keep landing, where you're standing now. Do I want to be here now? Do I want to be doing what I'm doing with them, who I'm doing it with? You want to ask yourself, how do I feel about each of these outcomes in my life? And then we're going to work on creating a blueprint, creating a mindset, creating a different narrative that's going to support a different blueprint and a different outcome. So I'm going to teach you how to do that in the next podcast. We're going to talk about doing voice loops, and we're going to talk about how to actually create a new narrative and a new blueprint, new information that enters into your unconscious mind. And then we're going to talk about how to actually get it in there, because it's not simple to get it in there. You don't just get it in there with affirmations. You get it in there with intention. You get it in there with the emotion, and you get it in there with repetitive communication to yourself as if the feeling or the thought is actually happening now. And I'm going to explain that in the next time we meet together. I just see this time, I'm picking up my dog, I'm closing my door. I think we're just all real people. Just because I'm on a screen, just because I'm a therapist, I see myself as just somebody who's, landed at your doorstep, being here to be able to help you the way that I've learned to help myself. And I've learned just through years and years and years of experience being a therapist, with my own personal challenges, and just learning and studying every single person who has something worthwhile to say about personal development and how to really, really become healthy and whole and actually happy and be and do and live the things you want to have, do, be, and live. Okay, so I hope you guys have the best day. If you know anyone who needs to hear this, please share it. I'm not looking for anything, I just want to give. I believe that we're supposed to add value wherever we go, and that's my goal. If you want to check out my website, you certainly can. It's Lager Counseling Services. You can see what we're all about. But I'm not looking for anything from you. I just want you to sit back and receive. And if I can be of any assistance with anything I know, I'd really love to do that. I hope you have a really, really great day and a really, really great time until I see you next. Don't forget to be aware. Live awake. Bless you.